Now. Okay, so we're gonna get started. I'm gonna share my screen really quick. So to you, so you can see it. Okay, so today I'll be presenting on Jordan Peele and his contribution to Black cinema. And today I have my mom here, and she's gonna be joining in on the conversation with me. So, first off, why Jordan Peele? So Jordan Peele is an American director, actor, and comedian. Peele was able to like combine aspects of horror and comedy together to tell stories through the eyes of like Black characters. And he's also able to address different social issues in relations to race with an added horror aspect. So these three films right here, Peele directed, produced, and wrote all three of these films. Get Out specifically being his directorial debut. And it was a complete box office success. And, in my personal opinion, he just made a really big splash in the horror industry. I chose him specifically because I do look up to him as a director and a creator, but also just how he's able to tell Black stories authentically, but through the eyes of Black characters. And yeah, so, a little bit about Jordan Peele is that he was born and raised in New York, specifically New York City in the Manhattan area, and he was raised by a single mom. He got into performing arts really, really early on, and he just grew to have a passion for it for the start. He attended a private high school that specialized in performing arts, and he later on enrolled in Sarah Lawrence College, where he was actually studying puppetry funnily enough. But he learned while he took a couple comedy classes that he really was passionate with comedy. So he left school to pursue comedy. So that like it takes place with our timeline here. So he decided to start doing comedy around 2002. He met comedian Keegan-Michael Key, and they both did a comedy. They both went on to do a comedy sketch show together. They actually met at a comedy swap where basically Peele was a part of a comedy group, a comedy improv group, and they kind of met there at the swap and they kind of swapped sketches that they wanted to do. And then from 2003 to 2008, Peele was an actor with Mad TV with Keegan-Michael Key. And then in 2012, Peele launched his own production company in January, I believe January 31st, with the name being Monkey Paw Productions. And he has gone on to produce so many other films and television shows with that production company. And then from 2012 through 2015, Jordan Peele and Keegan-Michael Key create and star in the Comedy Central series Key and Peele, which was once again a sketch show. And it was mostly just starring the two main actor and comedians. They wrote a lot of it and they starred in a lot of the sketch shows, and it was really popular. In 2013, it actually won a Peabody Award, which was a really big deal. And then in 2017, uh, Peele made his directorial debut with Get Out, which, like I was saying earlier, was a box office success and received numerous awards. And then in 2019, he came out with his second film that he wrote and directed himself called Us, which actually starred Nyong. So next, we'll get into like his greatest achievement. So in 2017, like I was saying, directorial debut, and it was a horror psychological film titled Get Out. It follows the story of an interracial couple, a black man, Chris, and his white girlfriend, Rose. And it follows the story of Chris meeting Rose's family. But it starts out pretty normal, and then towards the middle and end, you kind of see that there's something more sinister and something else going on below the surface. With this, he actually received an Academy Award for the Best Original Screenplay, and he actually was the first African American screenwriter to win this award. And what was so interesting about Get Out is that he took this situation that like a black person in an interracial relationship has experience, which is meeting your white partner's parents. And he added this horror and this mystery aspect. And I think it definitely highlights how, to Black people, some situations quite literally do feel like a horror movie. And maybe to white audiences or white people in this situation, it might not seem as crazy or like far-fetched, but to a Black person, meeting your white partner's like parents can be pretty nerve-wracking. And then next, kind of like his other achievements. So, bringing Monkey Paw Productions back up again, he's produced films such as Wendell and Wild, which was animated film that was on Netflix, and then Monkey Man, which came out last year, and him, and that was starring Marlon Wayans and Tyreek Withers. And then he's also gone on to be executive producer of TV shows such as Lovecraft Country, Hunters, and Twilight Zone. And it was kind of like a remake of the Twilight Zone, which was pretty cool. And he even acted as the narrator in that show. And then he has directed his two other films that he directed, Us in 2019, which came out in 2019, and then Nope, which premiered in 2022. And then both of these films actually earned Peele Saturn Awards and were really big box office successes. Um, with the characters that Peele creates, specifically in his three movies that he directs himself, he creates these Black characters that are able to have issues that can resonate, yes, universally, but also can still be specific and true to Black experiences and Black stories. Okay, so this is when we talk. So, question number one, were you familiar with Jordan Peele or any of his work prior to this conversation?
Yes, I am familiar with Jordan Peele. I have not seen Us. I did watch Get Out, and I did was like, oh my God, that's so crazy. I've never personally been in an interracial relationship, but I don't think it's so much as like scared if I was to date, someone that was not black and meeting their family, but it's kind of like curious because that's not my life, right? I didn't know about the Twilight and what was the other stuff he produced, you said?
I love Lovecraft Country and Hunters.
Lovecraft. I didn't. Okay, I want to say I knew about Lovecraft Country. So I like comedy, but Lovecraft Country I didn't get into simply because just from the previews, it looked creepy. It didn't look like it might be funny, like some like Nope and all of that. So I didn't watch it. It was the previews did a little too much for me to really get into that, but I heard great things about it. But I didn't know about the Twilight, um, or the Lovecraft Country. So, but I think that's cool.
And
But
then,
yes, in answer to your question, I was familiar with Jordan Peele.
what's your favorite like piece of work from like your
Nope.
favorite? Nope. Okay.
Nope is my favorite. It was funny and scary, and the storyline was just kind of like different because it felt old and new at the same time, right? So they were like out kind of in the middle of nowhere at this weird carnival like kind of place, but then the guy with the cameras coming from made it all like techie, so it reminds you you're still like in the 2000s. Um, so yeah, and then I love Kiki Palmer. So there's
Yeah.
that.
Okay. How do you think Black audiences were impacted when seeing a Black director with this collection of work? And like kind of like the accolades and the achievements he like has like after that. So like winning his Oscar for best screenplay.
I mean, it's inspiring to see somebody that looks like you or your sibling or possibly your neighbor. It's a big deal. Inclusion is major, especially in an industry that makes, billions of dollars a year on entertaining people. Um, Black people have always been the entertainer, but very rarely were they able to be the director, the producer, or writer of major films, right? So him along with others, we're just now getting into this where it's it's pretty soon not going to be a new thing, right? It's not going to be a black director, a white director, a black producer, a Hispanic producer. It's just going to be producers, just like anybody can put out quality work. So, you know, kind of getting rid of that stigma because you're black, you can't make a quality project, you can't be, a creative and things like that.
I also think, like, to add on to that, when it's like, especially the actors, because I definitely think when you see, just in like past films, when like it is like it has a mostly black cast. It's a historical film. Most definitely. It's a historical film, and there's nothing wrong with historical films, but I think with films like Get Out and like Us and Nope, and just seeing Black people getting to be like the main character and them getting to be like a part of their own stories and not having to feed into someone else's can also just be like really inspiring to watch. Because just even in real life, as like especially as a Black woman, like you might not be deemed as like the main character at like work or at school or just whatever, like in different aspects of your life. So I think seeing that depicted in like media is really interesting, especially with Kiki Palmer and Nope. Like that's like kind of like more of a sci-fi horror. You don't really see Black women in like that type of film. And when you do, like they're I feel like they always get killed first. But she like stayed the whole time. Like she was a very principal character. So,
Right. Okay.
so do you think that adding horror to like social issues brings more awareness to these issues?
Um, I think anything where you can grab someone's attention and create a conversation is going to bring awareness to it, right? Um, Even the most arbitrary of things, if you can capture my attention and keep me entertained, and I say my, but I'm really talking about like just people as a whole. But if you can do that, you can bring attention to anything because it creates a conversation. And then you're like, what if, and then if a lot of people see it, and I'm at work or I'm at school or I'm at a grocery store and I'm talking about it, more and more people are talking about it, right? So it's the spreading awareness, right?
Mhm.
Because we were entertained and we want to talk about it. Nobody goes to a movie and just like absolutely says nothing. We're like, oh, how was your night? Oh, I went and saw, like, how, the first question somebody's going to ask when you tell them you saw any movie or went to a concert, how was it?
Yeah.
Right? How was it? Because, we want to know, how was it? Because I might want to see it. Or, oh, I saw that too. What part did you like? What did you like? Or what did you think about this? Right?
Hmm.
Um, and usually that's going to be in some kind of environment like work or school or like a grocery store, like I said. And that's going to, somebody's going to overhear, oh, what about such and such? Or they might not join that conversation, but they might go and be like, hey, I went home, and you go home and, hey, honey, I heard these two people talking and they watched such and such. And, we saw it. And what did you? So it sparks the conversation, right? So conversations have to be had for anything to be done about anything, right? So you entertain me, you spark my conversation, and then it spreads.
Got it. And that was really good. That was really good.
Okay.
Answer. Okay. What are some aspects of his films or just any projects that you've seen that you could relate to your personal experiences?
And straight to the stage. Aspect of his films. So definitely going back to Nope. I hear a sound, see something weird. I have no problem going the other way and minding my business. Okay. It doesn't have anything to do with me. Like I see something, hear something that like I'm really and I'm probably upset out loud. Nope, not gonna do it. We're not even gonna go there. I don't do it. Um, that could be like pulling into a gas station and it's like no cars and a weird van pulls up. It's like nope, we're gonna go to the next gas station.
Right.
Um, it's just like that spirit of discernment that goes along with nope. That's like my verbal indication of discernment is nope. Now, uh-uh.
That's really
So yeah,
good.
I can definitely relate to that whole thing. But also the survival tactic kicks in, right? Because you said nope, right? But in that movie, the alien was still around and I can't live. So now I got to figure out how to get rid of you. So the survival instinct kicks in. It's just like, okay, well, what do I got to do so I can go back to living my normal life? And of course, in the movie, they go through some, you come up with a plan, right? Like I have this problem, I need a plan or a solution or whatever, and then they implement it, and poof, the alien spacecraft, which I'm assuming that's what it is, or alien self, whatever,
It was like in his
gone, and they can go
body.
back. Yeah, like body fit. Either way, plan, implementation,
Yeah.
solved.
I think no, that's really good. And I think that's really what he was trying to like capture when he was like making the movie. Like, nope. Like even on like the poster, they're just kind of looking up like, okay.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's pretty good. And then my last question is like, what steps can we take to ensure that accurate and inclusive narratives of Black history are more widely disseminated and understood in educational settings and society at large?
I think we have to remove, well, not remove. I think we have to look at terms like Black cinema as
Hmm.
not for Black people, but like it's really for everyone, right?
Hmm.
So we have to include that, Black directors, Black actors. Like, we want everybody to hear the message, right? So I think that needs to be put out there more like, hey, everybody, like, I love that Marvel slash Disney did, Wakanda, right? What they had, what they had that a lot of people don't have, they already had a fan base. Like if I'm a Marvel junkie, I'm gonna go see the Marvel film, even though it's a predominantly Black cast, Black director, this, that, and the third. So they really had an upper hand on bringing everybody in. But how many people do you think outside of Black people went and saw that movie that never saw a film with that many Black principles in it, right? That
Yeah.
has to be a new experience for them. But had the movie not been in that Marvel franchise, and part of seeing all the movies together, it's like 20 some odd movies and you see them in a certain order or whatever, would they have gone to see it?
Yeah.
So I think from things like that, you go into Sinners, right? Michael B. Jordan, right? Michael B. Jordan is another Black actor that started out predominantly white films, playing, what do you call the side
Uh,
character?
Killmonger?
Huh? No, like he was in Wakanda, but what do you call the side characters? Like he was in a couple of like kind of like teeny bopper films
Yeah.
or
Who's
whatever.
the
He's done in
antagonist in Killmonger, if that's the word you're looking for?
no, like not the principal actor, but like a supporting actor, right?
Okay, yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's a supporting actor in different films, not major roles. But then he starts to have like these major roles, but to the so like the broad entertainment sake, like people have seen him before outside of Black people, right? He did movies that probably very few Black people, not as many Black people saw as, you know, your Wakandas or whatever. And from Wakanda, he went and did Sinners. And a
Hmm.
lot of people outside of Black people went and saw Sinners because it's like, whoa, I saw this Wakanda movie and these actors did really well. And it's the same director and one of the same principal actors. Like, oh, so you had Sinners had a large outcome.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're looking at all of those, like looking at all of those things. So I think the basic thing is like we call it Black cinema because it's created by Black people and able to give Black people a voice, a stage and a presence, but it's for everyone. So we don't want to be excluding anyone
Mhm.
because Black people have been excluded. So
Yeah.
that's not the goal here. We want to include everyone, but you know, it is, a stage, a voice, a representation, which is the biggest thing. But we want everybody to enjoy Black film.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like Jordan Peele, in one of his interviews, like he was talking about how even though like maybe like a white audience or and black audiences may have different perspectives on it,
Mhm.
it's not to like just box in and be like, oh, this is like a black film, this is a white film. It's for
Mhm.
everyone, and it's told through this. It yes, it is told through the eyes of a black man, but it is meant to include everyone because it's still like a psychological horror film. Like it's still something like you can be into it just as like how well people were into like Split or just other past like movies like that, other past psychological horror movies. Because it is meant to be for everyone. And like you were saying, like, yes, it is like black written, produced, and like directed, but it was still geared towards everyone. And to my understanding, like people besides black people also did go see Get Out and these other movies too. So yeah,
Right.
pretty good. Oh wait, let me make sure. Okay, just to wrap up. Oh, I also put like some stills. These are all of my favorite stills and my favorite scenes from all three of like his directing movies and whatnot. Just really good stills. But kind of to summarize, like as we stated, he did bring a new feel to horror and changed how Black characters and stories were portrayed on screen. And then with his stories being told through the Black lens of the well, lens of Black characters. Um, Non-Black viewers can get a glimpse into a new perspective, but his project allows for Black people to be seen as main characters and principal characters, and that they're able to write and tell their own stories. And then his projects are still and will probably still be continued to be interpreted by different audiences because it is people from different perspectives watching this movie. Like a lot of people had different perspectives on or different interpretations rather on what Nope was about. So, all in all, I think Peele is a genius when it comes to his writing and his directing and how he is able to appeal to all audiences, but also how he is able to take these very talented and very like now notable Black actors and make them into these main characters and even like Daniel who stars in Get Out, like he kind of falls into like the final girl trope and you usually see like I guess like white female actresses, be like the final girl, but I feel like he kind of takes over that trope at the end. At least that's my interpretation of it. But all in all, thank you, Mom, for gapping through my conversation. Thank you. Here's my bibliography. I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen really quick. But yeah, thank you, Mom.